What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we have another 2025 mock draft, but this time we're doing 2 rounds. Should be a pretty good one. Make sure if you like the video to hit the like button and subscribe. The last video did fairly well, and I like how we got some recommendations in the comments below. And if you make those recommendations, whether it's for the actual draft or for the quality of video, I greatly appreciate it. So, let's just get straight into it. At number 1 overall, we're just going to go with Travis Hunter. Last time I was doing a bit of a bidding war for number 1. I think that's most likely what happens, but we're just going to keep it like this for now. Tennessee, again, from last time, I'm going to change it a little bit. I'm going to throw out some takes that maybe some people won't agree with, but I just kind of want to experiment because it's not really that fun if every mock draft is the exact same. And then if I'm analyzing your team completely incorrectly, please let me know in the comments below. So the Titans, Tetairoa McMillan is a pretty easy pick for me, but I kind of want to change things up. Don't know if I want to go too crazy and go quarterback because I think you'd still give Levis one more year, and then if things go horribly wrong, then so be it, and you look to, maybe Arch Manning next year, or something of those sorts, right? This year's quarterback class I don't love, so I would not go quarterback here, even though you have your pick of the bunch, right? Another option is tackle. I think it's a touch early for tackle. Maybe you even trade back here, which I wouldn't really mind at all, to be honest. So that's a possibility. You trade back and grab a tackle. Maybe something like this happens where Las Vegas look to move up to number 2, and Tennessee doesn't really have to give that much in return. They'd probably get a second rounder. I mean, it's not moving up an insanely big amount. Maybe it would be something like that. 68 for 103, maybe a future 3 in there for a future 5, something like that. Obviously I'm kind of just messing around with it, but you can make this whatever you want. But we're just going to knock that through. Throw up a possibility here. Go Cam Ward at number 2 overall. Maybe this would be more of a Shedeur pick. I'm not really sure. I think Tom Brady's going to be like the head of some kind of football operations over there in Las Vegas, and we know that he is I'm not even gonna say like is a big fan of, but we know that they know each other very well, Shedeur and Brady. Number 3, I think the Giants are, they finally moved on from Daniel Jones. This is being recorded, by the way, on the Saturday. This is before Sunday football and after, obviously, that crazy Thursday night game, which is why the Browns aren't picking at like number 3 anymore. But either way, gonna go Shedeur. Daniel Jones has finally moved away. They cut him. Tommy DeVito, Tommy Cutlets. He's a pretty good, backup quarterback. Maybe not the best. I love him, but gotta get Shedeur here. Number 4, we're gonna go tackle to the Titans. Keep building that offensive line. Their left side of the line is very, very strong with Skoronski and with Latham. Now we can maybe build on the right-hand side with Kelvin Banks. Move him over from left tackle to right tackle. If that transition doesn't go very smoothly, you just play him at guard, right? So maybe it might be a touch early for Kelvin Banks. I do probably prefer him over Will Campbell, and the other thing with this is I think teams will value Will Campbell as a guard, which would probably kick his stock a little bit. Patriots up at 5. We're going to go Tetairoa McMillan. Big 6'5" ex-receiver. The Patriots don't have one. We don't really have a receiver one. I am a Patriots fan. And it is sometimes painful to watch Drake May by himself. Out here in New York with the Jets. Technically New Jersey, but either way, the Jets are at 6. I think Mason Graham's a pretty easy pick here. I also don't mind Will Johnson, really. Sauce has not been good this year, and I think it's not even just like oh, he's obviously declined. It's not just that he's declined; it's that he's genuinely been very bad. Like not a good corner at all this year, which isn't a knock on his talent because he's still one of the best corners in the league cover wise, without a shadow of a doubt. But this year he has not shown it. So maybe you get Will Johnson to take some of the pressure off. I don't really mind that at all, and we're just gonna experiment with it this time. We're gonna go Will Johnson form, even with Sauce playing poorly, probably the best cornerback duo, best young cornerback duo in the league. Next up at 7, we've got the Browns. Now the Browns are an extremely interesting team because maybe you don't go quarterback because they don't really want to move on from Watson over there pretty clearly. And Jameis Winston is just like he's just there. And I love Jameis Winston. Maybe he's not the greatest quarterback in the world, but I mean, if you're drafting a quarterback here, you're not getting the greatest quarterback in the world. I mean, you can get Jalen Milroe maybe to sit for a whole year and then come in. Like I think the smart thing to do if you're a quarterback is to stay that extra year in college. Even if it's less exciting for the draft process, it's like, well, it'll make it more exciting next year, first of all, and second of all, look at like Jaden Daniels, who stays the extra year at LSU, and his draft skyrockets. I was gonna say his skyrocket drafted, which is just that does not make any sense, but his draft stock absolutely skyrocketed. And he goes number 2, and not only does his draft stock skyrocket, he as a player increased his value. I mean, he's just unbelievable, right? Is probably going to win Rookie of the Year, barring an unbelievable decline in form. Either way, getting a little bit carried away, but I think that's a smart thing for like a Nussmeier, a Drew Aller, a Jalen Milroe. I don't think it's a bad idea to go back to school. Right now, I'm a big fan of Jackson Dart and Curtis Rourke, but you're not taking them in the first round. You're just not doing it. I could see Dart maybe going in the first, but it would be very late, and it would have to be a situation where quarterbacks just start flying like last year. But I don't think that will happen because the quarterback quality isn't that high this year. So that's a long way of saying I'm not going quarterback for the Browns. I'm thinking about just Ashton Jeanty. Nick Chubb hasn't been unbelievable this year. He had a good game against the Steelers, obviously, in terms of touchdowns. He got 2. But I think Jeanty would still come in and, 1, give Chubb a bit of a break, and 2, if Chubb just moves on, then you get a new RB1, right? And Jeanty might be RB1 anyway, even with Chubb there. Panthers at 8. I think this is between Abdul Carter and Mason Graham for me. Now, obviously, you already have interior presence with Derek Brown. It doesn't hurt to get another guy like Mason Graham in there, who's obviously had a fantastic year ever since like the first 2 games. I mean, yeah, he had a rough start, but he's been great ever since, and he's a big guy, 6'3", 320. Or you could go with maybe I say smaller, obviously he's still big, 6'3", 250, but a smaller edge rusher, powerful, athletic edge rusher in Abdul Carter. I think that's something to do. I think Panthers really need help off the edge. Obviously, losing Brian Burns is like just, I mean, you probably had to, but that it hurts a lot, right? So you're getting a new athletic edge rusher out of Penn State. At number 9, I think this is a pretty easy pick for Dallas. Just go Mason Graham. They would have hoped that Jeanty fell to them at 9. They have 0 run game, but that doesn't stop them from going running back. Maybe you'll see later in this mock in round 2. Amarion Hampton, I'm a huge fan of. Caleb Johnson, pretty speedy runner. Quinshon Judkins, so shifty, man. Ollie Gordon's not a bad option if you can get him late 2nd, early 3rd, maybe even later. I don't really know how his value is going to hold up, but there's options for running back later on, and kind of historically, the better running backs come later on in the draft. I mean, it's not like, the worst thing in the world to take a running back early, but running backs, you can get them late. It's kind of like a linebacker or a safety. I mean, you can technically at any position late. I mean, the greatest player in the history of the sport is a quarterback, and you don't typically get them late, but Purdy's there as well. Is what it is. Um, New Orleans here. I think their offensive line actually has been a little bit better as of late. Um, that being said, I still wouldn't mind taking Will Campbell because no matter how good your offensive line is, he still improves it. But also going defensive line would not hurt at all. Kenneth Grant's a very good player and he's available. And then also you've got Nick Scourton, who's a great edge rusher available. James Pierce, great edge rusher available. Um, James Pierce might actually be one of my favorites in the entire draft. And then you can't obviously forget Jalen Walker, who's listed as a linebacker here, which sometimes throws me off. I never know where to find him, but recently his rank got moved like way up in this, so he's just right here. But he was at like 50 something for a while and listed as a linebacker, so it was mad confusing. But either way, we're gonna go offensive line. We're gonna go with Will Campbell. He's gonna help lock up the quarterback. Whether that's Rattler or whatnot. Maybe they go quarterback in the second round. Who knows? But getting Will Campbell on your line, he's gonna play guard, and he's gonna be great. I mean, that's the plan. Cincinnati's an interesting team here because they could lose T. Higgins this offseason. So maybe you look receiver, but I wouldn't do that until the second round. Because I'm replacing T. Higgins with Jaden Higgins if that happens. Jaden Higgins is another big body target receiver, jump ball receiver is what I meant to say. And there's tons of receiver depth here, so I wouldn't look that way in the first round. Plus, you already have one of the best receivers, if not the best receiver in the league, in Ja'Marr Chase. So no need to go receiver there. I'm not sure why it's a massive need. I'd lean more on the. Why did this thing just shoot all the way down there? I'd lean more on the defensive line. And really not even edge. I'm looking more interior. Between Kenneth Grant and Walter Nolan for me, we could change it up this time and go Walter Nolan. Nah, we'll go Kenneth Grant. Big fan of Kenneth Grant. Kind of having a sneaky good year, as he is playing, obviously right next to Mason Graham, who many view as a blue chip talent. Said this in the last video, but I think some teams will actually value Kenneth Grant a little bit higher than Mason Graham, because obviously it just depends on the system. But Bengals need desperate help stopping the run, getting extra help on the defensive line. Trey Hendrickson is a great start, but he's not going to be able to do everything by himself, right? You need extra help on the defensive line. So that's what we're doing. Miami is up next. Miami, I think, could look corner. I think they could look edge, and I think they could look offensive line. Benjamin Morrison is a fantastic corner, right? 12, I think, is a good spot for him, and if he was healthy this year, I think 12 would be a steal for him, to be totally honest with you. Offensive line, I mean, Tyler Booker would be a nice interior guy to get later on. If you're looking at tackle, you can go pretty much anyone at this point. Maybe you go with Miami obviously loves their speed, right? So maybe in the second round you go with Charles Grant to play tackle for you. I think another option, as I said, was to go edge, because really, name slipped my mind. Jalen Phillips has had season-ending injuries 2 years in a row. You obviously have Chop Robinson, who's been better but not fantastic as of late. Obviously he's a raw rookie, so the world is not going to end if he doesn't play unbelievably year one. But it's about developing him for the long term. So, honestly, I think I may have talked myself into edge. Did I though? I'm not sure. Because I really also like corner. Nah, we're going to stick with edge. We're going to go with Nick Scourton at number 12 to Miami. He's going to give you a lot of athleticism and a lot of strength out on the edge. Texas A&M aren't the greatest team in the world at developing edge rushers, so you think with NFL coaching he can only get better in Miami. Bucks are interesting. I think it's also edge, and I think I'm going to go with Jalen Walker out of Georgia. He generates so much pressure, can play a little bit of off ball as well. I think honestly the plan for him this year was to play him off ball, and then he played so well at edge they kind of have no choice to play him there. But yeah, he's been fantastic this season. Genuinely very, very good player. He's a little bit on the lighter side, and he's still going to put in work, and he's a really athletic edge rusher that the Bucks would love. Number 14, desperate need of offensive line here, right, for the Bears. Now, it depends. What do you want? Do you want a tackle or do you want a guard? I think if you want a tackle, you're going Josh Simmons. If you want a guard, you're probably going Ariante Ursary or maybe Booker later on. And for Chicago here, I'm just going to tell you right now, most likely, we're going offensive line with both of these picks, in the second and in the first. Actually, they might even have 2 second-rounders. Yep, they do. So, it might be 3 times offensive line. I mean, maybe not 3 times. Maybe we build up the defensive interior in the second round as well. But, I mean, they really need help on offensive line. They need to protect their quarterback of the future in Caleb Williams. If the Bears somehow flop to develop Caleb Williams, then, I mean, they just need to get rid of the franchise permanently. I mean, I don't even think Caleb Williams is unbelievable, to be honest. I liked Drake May way more. I still do. I'm very happy the Patriots got him. And really, I like Daniels a little bit better as well. But Caleb, you got to protect him. And I'm going to go and do that with Ariante Ursary, who's going to play tackle for you and then slide inside to guard when need be, or if he doesn't perform at tackle. Colts number 15. I'm going to go corner here. I'm not really going to think twice about it. I'm going to go Benjamin Morrison. Obviously, I said earlier for the Dolphins pick, this guy's unbelievable. At pick 15, if he was healthy this year, this would be an absolute steal. Pick 16 with Seattle. This is where your recommendations in the comments below are going to help a lot. Somebody said that I believe I went with Kelvin Banks last time. Couldn't do that if I wanted to in this time around, but he said that the coach might want to go with Malachi Starks to be a safety, just like you had in Kyle Hamilton out in Baltimore. Also, to go with the edge. They don't have that guy as an edge rusher yet. The reason I went with Kelvin Banks last time is I think there's a lot of edge depth in the class, right? Maybe more than at tackle. But I completely understand wanting that guy as an edge rusher. So we're going to go with James Pierce here at edge. I think it could also be Mykel Williams, but I'm a big, big fan of James Pierce. He's really starting to put his game together. He's a really bendy, athletic edge rusher, and he's going to put in work in Seattle. Excuse me. Number 17. We're going to go corner here. And we're not going to really spend too much time on it. I think for me it's between Siobhan Revel and Azariah Thomas. These are my next 2 guys, and then followed by Trey Amos and then Jahdae Barron. I'm a big fan of Davis Nigbinosun as well. He's definitely going to go in this. Let's just go with Siobhan Revel. Obviously another guy with a season-ending injury, but prior to the injury, he was looking absolutely fantastic. If the medicals come up favorably for him, he's going to go very high in the draft. San Fran, another team that could look to go corner. I think they'll go on the offensive line. We're going to go Cam Williams here. Kind of a raw tackle who's going to develop behind Trent Williams. And at the start, maybe play guard, maybe play right tackle. He can kind of move around the offensive line. And the whole point is he's going to be your future left tackle, right? Which is a little bit tricky considering he plays right tackle at Texas. He's going to have to move over. But I think he can do it. He's one of the more high-end tackles in the entire draft. 19, we've got the Broncos. And I think you just get your guy Bo Nix, another weapon in Luther Burden here. And you don't really think twice about it, right? Next up, we have the Falcons. Falcons, we're going to look to trade back because somebody along here is going to want a receiver like Isaiah Bond, right? The Falcons can trade back not very far with Washington and get, you know, a very, very good edge rusher still at pick number 22. Washington are going up to try to get some different level of speed with Isaiah Bond. Gives you a great receiver duo, gives your guy Daniels another big option, helps out the offensive line because if people get open quicker, people get open faster, then the offensive line doesn't have to hold as long. All right, so we're going to send this through. Atlanta will be pleased because they've traded their third-round pick to New England, so they get one back. And they only move back 2 spots, and then they give up, a 4th-round pick. So they would be satisfied with this. Washington comes up and drafts Isaiah Bond at pick number 20. Pick number 21 with Arizona. I think we're going to keep things pretty easy here. Look on the defensive interior and just go with Walter Nolen. Don't really think twice. Give some help to the guys up front who are kind of overperforming this year. And get some big help on the inside with Walter Nolen. Well, he's not the biggest dude in the world. He's obviously big, but, I mean, he's pretty big. He's pretty massive, not going to lie. 6'3", 305 is, pretty much like the exact build of, like, Quinnen Williams. So, can't really complain about that. Now, Falcons are completely satisfied here. They trade back and still get an edge rusher of their choice. We're going to go with Mykel Williams. Super athletic edge rusher with a crazy long arms. Gotta keep him. You get to keep him in Georgia, obviously. So kind of cool, like storyline there. Texans up next. I think the easy pick here is just guard. In which case you'd probably want to move back and get some extra trade value, right? So who would want to move up? Well, the Vikings. That's actually a very handy little recommendation there. Something like this would probably go through because they are moving up, 5 spots. So something like that would probably go through. The Vikings don't really have a lot of draft capital to work with to move up. Maybe it would even be like a future 3 instead. Just because, it would be higher value. It wouldn't be like a pick like that. So it would probably be something like that. I don't really know exactly, but, obviously the rest of those picks don't impact this mock, so we can just send it through. But Vikings are trading up in order to jump Baltimore for a corner. We're going to go with Azariah Thomas. Really sticky corner. He's had a really good year this year. No picks yet, but that's because people don't really throw at him, to be honest. I mean, he's been a very, very solid corner this year. The one bright spot, well, I mean, they have a couple bright spots, but Florida State is so buns this year. And obviously it's no guarantee for the next pick that Baltimore would go corner. But just to be certain, the Vikings trade up. Houston are probably satisfied trading back. And Baltimore are probably going to look with the corner gone, with Azariah Thomas gone. You can look Trey Amos, you can look Jediah Barron. Might be a touch early for those guys, though. I like Davis and Igbinosun, obviously. More of a, I mean, this isn't a horrible spot for him, to be fair, but I know people won't like it, so I'm not going to do it right now. But we're going to go edge rusher. Get some help on the defensive line. Question is, who do we go with? Let's go Shamar Stewart. Not really overthink it. Another Texas A&M edge rusher. There's 3 Texas A&M defensive linemen that are going to, make an impact in this draft. We've got Nick Schowerton, Shamar Stewart, and Shamar something else. Shamar Turner on the interior. So, yeah, that's pretty much that. I really like this pick for the Chargers with Tyler Warren. It's just such a beautiful pick. I mean, just picture this, right? Oh my God, it's absolutely beautiful. You can just see him wearing the jersey, pumping up on the sideline, getting pumped up by Harbaugh. I mean, you can just see it. You can just see it. Physical tight end, gets Herbert another weapon. A sure-handed tight end. At Penn State, they line him up in the Wildcat. They just let him do his thing. I mean, they literally run that offense at Penn State around a tight end. I mean, that is how you know he is a very, very good player. And this is a perfect fit for him. Another great fit for him might be like the Patriots, but they don't really have a great pick to get him. He's probably going to go between pick 15 and 26, 27 at draft time. So, the odds of him falling out of the first are quite low in my opinion. 26, we have Green Bay. I think the draft this year is actually in Green Bay, so they would not want to trade back here. Fans would not like that at all. Question is, who do we go with? It's a good question. I like Simmons a lot. Obviously, the season-ending injury, that's why he's even here. He would go very, very early on if not for that injury. Wyatt Milam has been maybe one of the best tackles in the country this year. Arm length probably makes him play guard. Blake Miller is obviously a really solid tackle option. Jonas Savaiinaea has a great storyline with linking him back up with Jordan Morgan. Josh Conerly is a very powerful left tackle whose high-end tape is as good as anyone else's. Jack Nelson I really like. He's a high-end tackle as well. I know that you won't like it because the rank is at 201 or whatever, but he's better than 201. He's a first-round, second-round talent. But we're just going to go with Josh Simmons. We're going to get a strong tackle option there, and he's going to play right outside of Jordan Morgan at left tackle. Then we've got the Steelers. I would not mind, to be honest, Alec Iomaner here. He just kind of suits them. Like, he's a pretty big guy, like 6'3", something like that, 6'2", 210. He's a target man receiver. He's like the meme of a whatever, a Lambo and like a terrible looking shed. Like, Stanford is awful, but Alec Iomaner is unbelievable for that team. So, I mean, I could see it happening. I also wouldn't mind, by the way, the other receiver, Emeka Egbuka here, just to give them another dimension, like give them a slot receiver. Or you could look tackle. I think I'm going to make a pick that not a lot of people are going to like. And it kind of is what it is, to be honest. I am going to go, maybe some people like it. I'll go with Josh Conerly here at 27. We're going to need a big, big left tackle. Try to protect your quarterback, whoever that may be, whether it's Russ, whether it's Fields, whether it's another quarterback. We don't really know. Both quarterbacks are on short-term deals there. Next up, we've got Houston, who traded back earlier. I was thinking about getting Booker here. But honestly, maybe a better option is to go Milam and then play him at guard. That's another shout as well. But nah, I'm just gonna stick with my gut and go Booker here, because Booker's not even locked into playing guard. He can also bump out to tackle when need be. Similarly, another interior guy here, and Donovan Jackson, is playing left tackle right now for Ohio State because of the injury to Josh Simmons. So Booker is another guy. He can play tackle. He can play guard. He's very, very good. Philly has like one of the most. I mean, it's got to be the most stacked roster in the whole league. Up there with Detroit. I'd say even better than like Kansas City, to be honest. I mean, just because of the receivers. KC is the best defense for sure, but I mean, Philly are just an unbelievable team. They're so hard to draft for. I mean, you could even just see them going like Colston Loveland just to get another tight end. I mean, like, when you're at that point, I mean, that's so crazy. Could even go Malachi Starks, get another safety. Um, like, I'm not even sure what their biggest need is. Edge depth is obviously crucial to any team. Having a good edge rotation is fantastic. So we're going to do that. We're going to go LT Overton out of Alabama. Get you some good size. I think he's like 6'5", 260 maybe. Something in that range. Or 280. Big edge rusher. He's going to get you pressure. I'll tell you that for free. Buffalo up next. I think we're going to go Malachi Starks and just, snap him up very quickly, just like that. We're not even going to think twice about it. He should not be here at 30, but because of the safety value, I mean, he's going to fall. Another spot I could see him going, I guess, is like maybe the Colts, maybe the Saints, and then you have him play like after Honey Badger. Maybe San Fran. There's just not a lot of places. I mean, like, because you're not taking a safety top 10. You're just not doing it. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it would be kind of weird. Kind of interesting to see where he'll end up, to be honest. But you could see, like, what happened to Cooper DeJean last year when teams started valuing him as a safety. And then his draft stock absolutely tanked. And he ended up with Philly. Because why wouldn't he? They got the two, some of the two best corners in the whole draft. Either way. Chiefs up next. They're a weird team to pick for. They just are. I'm going to go with Colston Loveland fairly quickly. He's just going to be your future at tight end. He's going to develop behind Kelsey. They are also going to have packages where they're both on the field at the same time. I mean, book it now. There's going to be some wacky, like, double shovel play where they're going to have them both lined up right next to Mahomes. And there's going to be some weird, I mean, you just know it's going to happen with Andy Reid. Lions now are one of the better teams in the league as well. They just draft for talent, and everybody knows that at this point. So what do they really need? I mean, they could do with some edge depth, especially, you hope to God that Hutchinson comes back from that terrible injury. I'm a huge fan of Kyle Kennard, big fan of Kamen Rucker as well, but he doesn't really suit them. Josiah Stewart, keeping him in Michigan. He's been very good this year. That Michigan defensive line it is something else. The only reason he's going to go a little bit lower is because of his size. Mike Green is a great player. And you know what? We're going to go with Mike Green. I know maybe it's not the most popular pick in the world, but he's been superb for Marshall. And you'll say, yeah, it's Marshall. And I'll say, yeah, it's Marshall. You're right. It's, not the biggest school in the world, but he's playing well. If he was playing poorly at Marshall, he would not be drafted, right? But he's playing unbelievably at Marshall, and he's young too. Sophomore, well, redshirt sophomore, but still. Next up, we have Jacksonville. In the first, I'm gonna have to do this a lot. I'm gonna go like up and down, because I'm gonna forget who I drafted. But Travis Hunter went at number 1. I think you just help him out and go tackle here. I don't mind really anybody here, to be honest with you. And we're going to go with Wyatt Milam. He can play, inside at guard. He can play outside at tackle. He'll fill in whatever you need on the offensive line. You hope, obviously, he's your franchise left tackle. If he isn't, though, you just bump him in the guard, and he'll be fine. Titans, we went with Kelvin Banks. Oh, God, people are going to hate that, aren't they? Could see receiver here in Emeka Egbuka or Alec Iomaner. Could also see quarterback. But I think we're going to go in with Emeka Egbuka here just to get a guy who's going to get open underneath, right? Give Will Levis more help. Obviously, you're bolstering the offensive line. You're going, like, the way I'm thinking about it is I'm thinking about building the way the Lions did. Build through the trenches. Get the best offensive line in the league, the best offensive line that you can get, bolster the defensive line, and that will help the rest of your team. If you're good in the trenches, you'll be better on the field. Well, deeper in the field, right? Protect your quarterback. You get your quarterback another weapon. I like that a lot. Giants, they went with Shedeur in the first round. Could get him another weapon to pair him up with Malik Nabers. Wouldn't hate that at all. Tell you that for free. Would not hate that at all. Another thing I would not hate is going tackle to kind of help on the offensive line. Go maybe Blake Miller. Kind of a safer pick. The Giants are not a great football team. How can you get better? You make safe picks. Blake Miller is a safe pick. He's not like a Charles Grant. He's not Emory Jones. He's not a Jack Nelson. He's where like his potential is going to skyrocket. But he's going to be a solid right tackle right away, and he's going to be a solid, if not above average, right tackle for his career, most likely. So we're going to go with him. Going to go with Blake Miller. Again, you already have that big weapon in Malik Nabers. So maybe you can get a round 3, round 4 receiver to kind of help him out. But that's what we're going to go with for now. Las Vegas, they went for Cam Ward at number 2. So that is what happened. We're going to go with, I mean, you can go receiver, you can go running back here. Let's go receiver. Let's go Alec Manor. Or you could do something a little bit creative, and you could go Xavier Restrepo to link him back up to Cam Ward. I like that. We're going to do that. Let's just experiment. I don't think he's a better, really, receiver than Alec Manor, but they're different receivers. Manor, as you can tell by these like stats, right, lines up always out wide. He's an X-receiver. Xavier Restrepo is a slot guy. He'll get open. Right? He will get open for you consistently. Link him up. You know, there's a chance, you know, barring poor quarterback play, there's a chance that, you know, there could be a rookie reception record there or something. Never really know, but helping out your teammate is never a bad thing to do. New England went with Tetsuo McMillan. I would not mind going, like something interesting pick is maybe Omarion Hampton. You look at him and, you know, maybe you link him back up with Drake May. I would not mind that actually at all. And getting 2 running backs that are very good in Omarion Hampton and Ramondre Stevenson would just be beautiful. Remember the last time in New England we had 2 great running backs, 2 good running backs. You know, Damian Harris. We were actually a good football team. So, you know, obviously a bit of a shame, but it is what it is. Other option, which is the one I'm going to go with here, is you can just go tackle. Question is, who do you go with? I don't mind going Jonas Savaiinaea at all, and then if he doesn't work out at tackle, you play him at guard. I'm a big fan of Vidarian Lowe, left tackle. I know that might not be popular, but I'm a big fan of him. So maybe you look more of, you know, maybe down the board, you look to get a tackle. Maybe that's a little bit crazy, but maybe you don't get one now. Or maybe you do. Saying that, right? Maybe you could get Charles Grant and play him at right tackle and get just a really athletic guy that would not hurt at all. You know, it's kind of a shame that like Josh Connerly isn't here. Jack Nelson's another option. He's obviously huge. 6'7", 316. You know what? That's actually what we're going to go with. We're going to go with Jack Nelson. He's going to play tackle for us. He's going to play right tackle for us and give a big option to protect Drake May. Then we have the Jets at 38. Now, they went with Will Johnson earlier. And I was considering going with Jalen Milroe in the first round for them. What about in the second round? I like that a lot. Now you're not forced to commit to him. You know, I mean, it's still a high pick, obviously, but pick number 7, you're really committing. You're putting all your eggs in the basket, as they say. At 38, you're not doing that. Also, you do lose your fifth-year option in the second round, obviously, but you can't really complain with him being there. He probably should have gone, and he didn't. The Browns are probably disappointed about that. They would have taken a swing at him. Drew Allar's also here. He kind of just feels like a AFC North quarterback, to be honest. But maybe we still keep going kind of without a quarterback. Like, is it a little crazy? Yeah. We went Genty in the first, maybe Alec Iomaner in the second, and now you're starting to build a little bit of an actual offense around Jameis Winston. I don't really mind that at all. And then maybe you look quarterback in the third round. I don't really think Nussmeier's coming out, so I'm not going to draft him in this, by the way. Probably should have said that way earlier. But say a Jackson Dart in the third. You can't really go wrong with that. He's a pretty safe quarterback. Bears, as I said earlier, we're going to go with another tackle. Or another, option here on the offensive line. Earlier, we went with Ariante Ursary. Now, maybe you go with... there's a few options. I'm a big fan of Armin Membu, right? He's a right tackle and, is nothing else but a right tackle, right? So, you're probably not moving him over to left tackle. Jonas Savaiinaea, tackle, can move inside the guard, is projected really to be a guard, to be honest. Charles Grant, super athletic tackle, right? Who, obviously playing for William & Mary is not the greatest football school in the world. But, saying that, he's a freak athlete. Guy I'd kind of look to go, maybe to the Broncos later on, but, I'm not saying that he can't get drafted before then. We're going to go Jonas Savaiinaea, and he's going to play guard for you. Ariante Ursary is going to play tackle. Cowboys, we're going to go with Amarion Hampton. I kind of talked about that in the first round, the possibility of them going with him or another back later on in the draft. Obviously, with Genty not being there at, pick 9, I believe. Saints, we went defensive line earlier. We're going to go offensive line now. As I said in the first, they've been better, but they're still not fantastic. We're going to go Donovan Jackson, who's one of my top players in the class. And when I say top, I mean, he's not the top player. He's a top 40 player, top 45 player pretty easily. Really strong guard who can also potentially bump out to tackle for you. They need help in the interior of the offensive line. Why not get some? Just double check that I didn't ruin everything. I did kind of ruin everything. They did go Will Campbell in the first round. I did kind of ruin everything. But honestly, I still don't think that hurts. You go Will Campbell, play him at tackle. If things go wrong, you play him at guard. You play Donovan Jackson at guard to start off, and then who knows, maybe he can even bump out to tackle. So sorry there, sorry Saints fans, I kind of doubled up, but I think honestly it doesn't really hurt to double up on that offensive line, who again have been better but not fantastic by any means. Bengals, they went with Kenneth Grant earlier. I actually don't mind still going defensive line with Princely Umanmielen out of Ole Miss. That defensive line's really not that good. Wouldn't also hate, to be honest, going corner there, bolstering the secondary, but obviously we didn't. Miami is going to go corner, though. They went Nick Skouertson earlier. We're going to go with Davis Igbinosun at pick number 44. Big fan of his. Really physical corner. Has had some really high-end moments and some, iffy moments, but that's what you're getting at pick 44, right? You're not getting a world-class corner, and he might have the potential ability to do so. Bucks, I do not mind going corner either. We're going to go Jadair Barron at number 45. Safety and nickel corner turned outside corner this year. Can prove he can play there. It'll skyrocket his draft stock from way lower down the board to a round 2, maybe even round 1 guy. Bears again. Do you dare triple dip? No, I'm not gonna do that. It's not the worst idea in the world, to be totally honest with you, but we're not gonna do that here. We're gonna go with Dion Walker. I heard somebody the other day say Dione, and I do not think that's the case. But if it is, maybe I'll look into that, see how you pronounce his name. I'm pretty sure it's just Dion Walker. Out of Kentucky, he's a massive, massive guy. He will fill space. 6'6", 345, and that is just a huge guy. His name is slipping my mind, but I'm trying to think of, a guy who's gonna fill space on the interior. He plays for Tennessee. They got him in the second round. Name slipped my mind. I'll probably just yell it randomly later when I remember it, with no context. But that's what we're gonna go with. Colts at number 47. This is what I was hoping to do the entire draft pretty much when I took Benjamin Morrison in the first round. Is I'm gonna link up Benjamin Morrison with his safety partner in Xavier Watts. Bang! Mind blown. What a duo. And then even later, you can go with a linebacker in Jack Kaiser and go all Notre Dame defense. How fun would that be? Maybe a little too fun. Maybe we don't do that. Now we have the Seahawks in the second round. Obviously went edge rusher in the first in James Pierce. He's going to be a big difference maker for you. Now you go out and you grab a solid tackle. I'm going to go with Armand Membu, and he's going to play right tackle for you. Could potentially bump inside to guard. He's about 6'3", 6'4". Let's see what they list him as. 6'3", 314. I still view him as a right tackle, to be totally honest with you. He's a really athletic and strong guy. Low center of gravity, which is funny to say for someone who's 6'3". But low center of gravity, strong legs. He'll get in there, set his stance, and he won't let many people through. He's had a very, very good year this year, and he's going to play right tackle for you in Seattle. Maybe give competition on the inside as well. Panthers went with, I think, Abdul Carter in the first. This is true. Wouldn't mind going receiver here. Maybe you can get like a Jalen Royals, a Trey Harris, Kyron Lacey, maybe even a Jaden Higgins. Get a big target. The more I say it, the more I like it in Jaden Higgins. Also, I'm a huge, I know a lot of people aren't, but I'm a huge Jalen Royals guy. At one point last year, he had the most touchdowns in the entire country. And here he's been very good. 6 foot, 200, kind of speedy guy. We're going to go with Jalen Royals. Get your guy another weapon. Now, another option there, to be fair, is maybe you don't want to go with a receiver like that, and you want to get like a bailout receiver in Jaden Higgins, where when Bryce Young's under pressure, you can just hurl it up, and hope your guy makes a play. So I could see that too, but I like Jalen Royals. We're gonna stick with it. Here we're gonna go corner, Trey Amos for the San Francisco 49ers. They just gave a massive extension to like Umino or something like that. He's obviously very good. They give him like a $90 million deal. Trey Amos is just going to be a solid corner 2, though, maybe even corner 3. I believe they have Renard Green in there, so maybe he's trying to do that role, but Trey Amos is definitely a bit better. Broncos. We're going to go with Charles Grant here out of William & Mary. Really, obviously, I talked about him quite a bit earlier. Talked about all the tackles quite a bit earlier, to be fair. But he's a freak athlete. And maybe he's somebody that Sean Payton would want. And, a high-end guy to protect Bo Nix. This whole draft is about surrounding Bo Nix with talent. Falcons. To be honest, I could see them going and doubling up on that defensive line and maybe going with someone like Tyleik Williams or Derek Harmon that like probably shouldn't be here at 52, to be totally honest. Could also go with a linebacker, maybe Chris Paul Jr. or obviously Jack Kaiser. Could see Jihad Campbell going here. I wouldn't personally do it, but I could see it happening. But we're going to go with Tyleik Williams on the interior. Just keep bolstering that defensive line. You know, obviously they traded for Matt Judon at the beginning of the season, or before the season started, and that has not panned out at all. But with the trade back earlier, they earned a third-round pick from Minnesota. So, you know, I believe they did. Not 100% certain, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened. So, you know, they'll get that pick back pretty much, and then they can look to build from there. Maybe take a linebacker in the third. Cardinals at pick 53. We're gonna go tackle. Not gonna think twice. We're gonna go Gray Zabel at tackle from North Dakota State. Not too much to say about him. Pretty strong tackle who's performing for, you know, not the biggest school in the world. 6'6", 305. Big guy, not the biggest school in the world. Washington, probably a little bit frustrated about that. I probably would have taken him for them as well, to be fair. But I also don't mind going with a guy like Anthony Belton, big developmental tackle to help out Jaden Daniels and protect him. They went with Isaiah Bond in the first, and yeah, Isaiah Bond in the first, and get a tackle in the second. So this is all about surrounding him with talent. Texans, I don't mind going running back here. We're going to go Quinshon Judkins. I know they, you know, obviously have Mixon performing unbelievably well, but it doesn't hurt to get another guy in there. And, you know, if Mixon, you know, can't do it forever. Next up, we have got the Ravens. I am going to go corner here. Pretty easy pick for me. I'm going to go Darian Porter out of Iowa State. Pretty physical corner. I like his game a lot. Get some extra pass coverage there. Starting to build a very, very strong secondary. Colts. That's just not the Colts. The Chargers at 57. We're going to go with Derek Harmon. Fill up the interior. You know, obviously, with Harbaugh, it's all about just building up the trenches. Getting big, strong, physical players. Derek Harmon might be one of the best defensive interiors this year in the entire country at 6'5", 310. He's an absolute truck. Now we've got Green Bay. We're also going to go on the interior here with Shamar Turner out of Texas A&M. He's just going to fill space. Another pretty big guy. 6'4", 300. I think he might weigh in a little bit more than that when it actually comes time to do that. And then we have Pittsburgh, who in the first round went with Josh Connerly. So now we're going to go with a receiver. We're going to go Kyron Lacey out of LSU. Pretty speedy guy. Consistently gets pretty open as well. Is he going to be the best receiver in the world? No. But does he have to be? No. So, guy who's going to get open, make plays. Buffalo, we're going to go on the interior here. We're going to go with Omar Norman Lott out of Tennessee. Strong guy. Really happy he was actually recently added to the simulator. Wasn't here for a while. I don't hate going receiver here for the Eagles. They're just so good that it's hard to find a spot. It's hard to find like a player. Like a Jaden Higgins here, who gives them something that they don't really have. I mean, they have size, and they have a contested catch guy in, you know, Brown, but Jaden Higgins is a little different. He gives you, you know, a lot of physicality. So we're just going to go with him. Why not? We're just kind of throwing takes out there now. Buffalo, again, could go linebacker here. Could easily go linebacker here. So we are going to go with Jack Kaiser. That's what we're going to do at Notre Dame. It ruins the dream of the Colts getting the trifecta of Notre Dame players, but the world is not going to end. The Chiefs, I don't mind going running back here. I like Ollie Gordon and Caleb Johnson. Also, I like RJ Harvey out of UCF. We're going to go with Caleb Johnson, though, out of Iowa. And then the last pick of the draft. Wow, this is a long video. Holy moly, man. They went edge, I believe, in the first with Mike Green. There's still some great edge depth on the board right now with like Kamen Rucker, Josiah Stewart, Donovan Ezekiel. I mean, this is what happens when the quality is so high, is that sometimes it can start to fall. But we're going to go on the interior of the offensive line. Maybe with Tate Ratledge. Look around here. Yeah, satisfied with it. So we're going to go Tate Ratledge out of Georgia to close out the mock draft. If you guys enjoyed the video, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. We're trying to get, to like 150 subscribers pretty soon, so that would be great. And then leave, recommendations below. If you don't like who your team drafted, tell me why you don't like it. Like, who would you pick instead? And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.